Salam Madani Malaysia. Salam Reformasi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Lady Homo Hentai. Koko. Cece. Homo. Vanakkam Anna, Tambi, Akka, Tangichi. Sat Sri Akal. Bhaiya. Acha. Okay. Welcome to my show again. Voice from the International Anti-Corruption Academy, UNODC, Vienna, Austria. Again, I will have an intellectual discourse, academic as well as a scholarly discussion about corruption, cronyism and nepotism. I'm a certified anti-corruption specialist as well as a compliance expert, certified by the United Nations, of course. Today, my discussion will be on the said topic, and I'm a blue ocean strategist. I don't believe in the red ocean strategy, whereby you kill, you backstab, you murder each other, because there are too many bloggers, too many such people in the social media, whereby they all talk about political corruption. Well, although I can speak about political corruption, but I'm not in the business of politics and corruption. Mine is totally on corruption. It might involve economics, it might involve politics, it might involve business, and so forth and so on. Those people who are bloggers in the social media who talk on political corruption, I believe are doing this because, as said by the former dean of the International Anti-Corruption Academy, Vienna, that discussions talking about corruption, views, opinions on corruption which is politically motivated is the best, because simple, it is sexy, it is trendy, and you name and shame, you bash people up, bring down their reputation, bring down their morale. That's the news. That's the kind of social media which Malaysians like to listen, and Malaysians like to comment, they like to view such bashing up of political opponents on both sides of the divide. Okay, that's sexy and trendy, and I believe the number of bloggers are increasing by the day. But there's one blogger who is very outstanding and has been nominated for the silver medal by YouTube because he has the most number of followers, and I believe sincerely tend and inclined to say that his talk is all about political corruption and bashing the opposition, and that's where he gets the most number of viewers, more than thousands perhaps, more than hundreds of comments, whereas I am on a scholarly discussion, academic as well as an intellectual discourse with you guys. And it might be boring, it might be not interesting, but I believe, being a blue ocean strategist, I believe mine is not shared by anyone, and nobody can take over my place here on this platform of social media. Okay? Okay, today's topic, as said, is corruption, cronyism, and nepotism. Okay, what is corruption? I've said over and over again, as discussed by the World Bank as well as Transparency International, whereby misuse of public position for personal gain, or alternatively, abuse of official powers for private gains, for oneself or for others, okay, in both situations. Okay, and then the opposite of corruption is, of course, integrity, and I'll read you the definition of integrity. Integrity is about the creation of viable alternatives to corruption and ethical failures. That is integrity. According to the Oxford Dictionary, integrity is godliness or perfection. And I believe nobody in this world can claim to be 100% of integrity. Although Nordic countries, Scandinavian countries such as Finland, Norway, Iceland, they are score very good marks indeed in the corruption perception index, and mostly it's above 8 to 9. That's the median. However, countries like New Zealand has always ranked top in the corruption perception index. They are supposed to be the cleanest, the most transparent, the most ethical, and the most competent as far as public officials are concerned in the corruption perception index, which studies the public sector. Views from foreign direct investors, views from foreigners, views from the business community overseas, and also others, stakeholders, are all taken into account about this corruption perception index. It's not an academic study, ladies and gentlemen. According to Professor Johann Graf Lambsdorff of the University of Passau, Germany, it's just a guideline. It's easy to read. Which are the most cleanest countries in the world, and which are the most dirtiest countries in the world. And you use it as a guideline. It's nothing scholarly, it's nothing academic, neither is it very scholarly indeed. Okay, it's just a guideline. Use it. Foreigners use it although it's just a guideline, because it's easy to read, easy to translate, so forth and so on. Okay, that's what corruption is all about, okay, within the public sector. However, Johnson in his book says corruption in Malaysia, whereby he has categorized, classified Malaysia as corruption having oligarchs and clan syndrome again. I have to stress this book, Johnston 2005, namely Syndromes of Corruption, and you can read it free of charge through the internet these days. Just type Johnston 2005, the book comes out, Syndromes of Corruption. I'm doing this as part of my giving back to society or caring for society. My opinion, ladies and gentlemen, you can agree or disagree, but you must be ready to face the intellectuals, the lecturers, the researchers from the United Nations who has written books and books journals and periodicals, publications about corruption, and I'm quite a reader of these books. Okay. Before that, I would like to say I'm not political, I'm not aligned to any political parties, but I am a fan of PMX and his cabinet, namely the PKR, DAP, as well as Amanah and APCO. I think they are doing a very good job, though Herculean, though uphill all the way, but they are doing it well. So far so good, and I wish them the best. India war against corruption. As I've always said, the initial phase of the battle against corruption in Malaysia has already been won for the last 8 months. But the war against corruption is never over. Once you are caught with your pants down, then it's a bit too late, because the war against corruption has to go on and on and on. Now, today I will discuss on the topic corruption, cronyism and nepotism as advocated by PMX, who is always against corruption, who never compromises on corruption and is always in the forefront. He's always in the front line to combat corruption, to counter corruption, which is never easy, because corruption being a topic which is sexy and trendy, bloggers from both sides of the divide, politicians from both sides of the divide will want to take advantage of it to name and shame, to condemn each other. But I leave it to the learned Malaysian public to decide who is right, who is wrong. Anyway, doing the right thing is only religious and moral. All religions teach you to do the right thing. Even morals also dictates that you do the right thing. As the saying goes, do unto others what you want others to do unto you. Okay? Now, PMX has always said over and over again, he has brought in billions of dollars worth of foreign direct investments, which he can walk tall, he can walk proud with his head high. As for me, ladies and gentlemen, I believe in living on my 2 feet and not living on my 4s. I rather die on my 2s rather than live on my 4s. That is to say that I rather be a Homo sapien who is doing the right thing, doing it well, who is competent, who has contributed to society, who has done the right thing to be proud of. As they say in the Malay proverb, manusia mati tinggalkan nama, harimau mati tinggalkan belang. Okay? Nothing shame to do the right thing. And I think the so-called Walaun and the Seluang are always barking on the wrong trees, as they are probably fed with a small sum of money to spread lies, to spread rumors, to spread maliciousness, bad will. These are wayward characters, some of them getting paid. Some of these NGOs are also equally bad. Pressure groups. For a few dollars, they are willing to do anything. Either it's ethical, either it's transparent, or it's just simply bullshit. If you ask me, empty vessels make the most noise, as they say. See? So corruption, ladies and gentlemen, please support and sympathize with PMX and his cabinet so as to make Malaysia a better society, a corrupt-free society which tolerates no nonsense on corruption. Okay? For the betterment of the Malaysian society, for the betterment of your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren as well as for your children. We want to live in a society of integrity, and Malaysia is now in the regime of compliance, being a third world country, and countries like Scandinavia, Finland, Denmark, they are in a regime of integrity, whereby we are trying very, very hard to go into the regime of integrity, whereas these Scandinavian countries, these Nordic countries, Finland, Denmark, Iceland, they are going towards nirvana, happiness, as said by James Madison, founding father of the Constitution of the United States of America. If society is made up of angels, of saints, we don't need the government, because everybody will behave as angels and saints. There won't be corruption. But unfortunately, that is not so true for first world countries as well as third world countries, including Malaysia. And as such, we are in the regime of compliance. We need laws, we need regulations, rules. Whereas these first world countries, Norway, Sweden, they don't need laws and regulations anymore. They do what is right. And they are heading towards nirvana. And we are heading towards integrity. Okay? Now, what have you got to say about cronyism for the last few prime ministers? Cronyism is the act of favoring one's friends, family, one's in-laws, one's wife, and I'll give you the actual reading material on cronyism. Turn again to this book, Symptoms of Corruption by Johnston again. What has he got to say about cronyism? Okay, the topic will be me and mine. Crony capitalism in action. Me and mine, what does that mean? It's basically a syndrome of corruption. It's basically oligarchs and clans. All politicians need the backing of business community, and all business community need to rely on politicians. It pays to have good political connections, good networking. And in other words, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. Prime ministers are indeed a good ally. As far as corruption is concerned, I even beg to differ with opposition leaders, opposition politicians, the ruling government politicians, as well as businessmen, business communities, civil society, NGOs, peer groups, pressure groups, whereby I said corruption is a disease. It's like cancer. It can never be eradicated totally, though it can be reduced to a great deal. So I will again stress that corruption can be reduced, minimized, but it can never ever be eliminated. As my respondents from Holland, from the Netherlands, that is, there's one respondent of my thesis, she says, Ganesan, there's a lot of corruption in Holland, in Netherlands. So is one of the Danish participants in a recent anti-corruption seminar in Kuala Lumpur. She told me, oh Ganesan, I'm sad to say, Denmark is full of corruption. All the politicians there as well as the business community, they work hand in hand, hand in glove to have corruption committed indiscriminately. Okay? Corruption as such, it can never be eradicated totally from the Malaysian society. However, I wish PMN and his cabinet to bring down the level of corruption, and I believe sooner or later give them the 4 years period more to bring down corruption to a minimum. Okay, what happened during the last few prime ministers? Sad to say, very sad indeed. I was disgusted when Parliament was closed. Parliamentary democracy, constitutional monarchy, the Rukun Negara, the Negaraku, it all stresses on constitutional monarchy, independence of Parliament. Okay, I was really disgusted. I believe you guys, hopefully the learned community, share my opinion, but the opinion is still yours. Finally, you make up your mind whether you like or you dislike or you hate the Parliament being closed for such a long time. I was disgusted. The MCO, I cannot cross borders, whereby a town to the next town is only about 5 kilometers, and I was ordered by the policeman on duty to turn back or face the long arms of the law, the wrath of the law, to be summoned. I didn't like all that, This is a democratic country. And I didn't like Malaysians, the first time in Malaysian history, dying of starvation. What is this? Malaysia is a rich, affluent, wealthy country. Lots of oil, LPG, lot of natural resources, lot of money. Unfortunately, this money is all being stolen by kleptocrats. In Malay, it's called as penyakau, sakau duit, looting the Malaysian economy, making it dry and hanging it out to dry. I didn't like that. I didn't like Malaysians taking out the white flag. What is this? It's a new syndrome whereby very unhealthy for Malaysians. Imagine living without food. Can you imagine that? Do you know how it feels? Starvation is a sad case if it happens in Malaysia. And there are many atrocities whereby the ex-ministers, ex-prime ministers, not PMX, ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying about the prime ministers and ministers before PMX. They enrich their cronies in the gambling sector, in the gaming sector, in the telecommunications, in all sectors. However, can they do it alone? No way, Jose. They can only do it with the assistance of political masters, and that's why they are known as political masters. It is common to have an ex-prime minister who has made his sons and daughters billionaires, or at the least millionaires, but I believe they are all billionaires, as cited by Forbes International Malaysia, classified one of them as one of the 10 richest in Malaysia in the first decade of the 21st century. Forbes magazine has said that, not me. And I believe in research and development. KPMG, an accounting firm, as well as PricewaterhouseCoopers, they have also said that in Malaysia, greed, way of living has always encouraged corruption. It's the rat race anyway. Survival of the fittest. And cronyism is all about that. I am sure none of us want our children to be a beggar or a destitute. But live the moral way. Live with ethics. Make a living for yourself and your families. Never ever make use of the state to enrich your family, to make your family rich, whereby you give tenders, you give projects, you give all sorts of unhealthy bidding to your kin, to your clans, to your wife, to your son-in-law, to your son, whereby the court is on the way to try one of the ex-prime ministers, as well as the son of one of the ministers who has hoarded cooking oil. Can you imagine that? Cooking oil. Malaysians use oil a lot, and this joker, this clown, this court jester is stopping Malaysians to enjoy the fruits of Malaysian labor, to have subsidized fuel. To have subsidized cooking oil. Price of cooking oil skyrocketed to nobody's business. Malaysians suffer. Do you want to suffer anymore? I don't think so. Do you want your children to suffer, your grandchildren to suffer, your great-grandchildren to suffer? I don't think so. PMX has recognized that Malaysia is a multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic and a cosmopolitan country in that sense. He has recognized the Malays, the Chinese, as well as the Indians. He has even recognized the existence of Malaysians in East Malaysia, namely Sabah and Sarawak, whereby in Sabah you have the Kadazan, Dusun, Murut, as well as the Orang Sungai, and so forth and so on. In Sarawak, you have the land Dayaks and the sea Dayaks. PMX has said, poverty has no eyes. Poverty has no ears. Everybody is susceptible to poverty. And it's very sad indeed to have to have states drinking Starbucks coffee every day. Isn't it a dying, a crying shame? It's embarrassing. You like it or not, you can disagree with me. I got no arguments on that. Don't want to debate with nunskulls. I don't want to debate with idiots, morons. No way, Jose. I am a Malaysian Indian. My mom is Chinese, my dad is Indian, and I like my culture. I like to wear shorts. I like to go to girly barber shops to have my hair done. I'm a human being, I'm not perfect, ladies and gentlemen. I guess certain strata of society, they consider themselves as the voice of God, the conscience of God. Well, it's their way of life anyway, and a great number of Malaysians, especially from the unfederated Malay states, if you care to recall history, Kelantan, Terengganu, and Kedah, Perlis, unfederated Malay states during British rule, who have never been colonized, and as such, all of the society there are homogeneous, mostly Malays, okay, and they have their lives to live. I'm not saying their lives are wrong, and neither am I saying it's right. Your life, you live your life. You want to suffer, go ahead. You want to live in deplorable, in very unbearable living conditions. Kais pagi, makan pagi. Kais petang, makan petang. You live and eat for the day. Do you want that for yourself? Maybe you can accept that. However, I'm inclined to believe that your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren don't want that. I tend to say that states such as Selangor, Penang, Negeri Sembilan, whereby the standard of living is par excellence. They are much better than the other states. I don't want to beg for food. No way. It's very unbecoming. Not human beings seldom beg for food, die out of starvation. Unless you are in countries like Somalia, where food is scarce. But Malaysia is a rich country. And now it's been steered well by the captain of the ship, PMX, with his able cabinet. That is what cronyism has done to Malaysia. You give your friends, you give your family. Crony capitalism index by the magazine The Economist has ranked Malaysia top of the crony capitalism index, whereby all the projects, all the tenders, biddings are all favored to a certain group of capitalists, a certain group of businessmen, the affluent, the rich and famous, if you want to, ladies and gentlemen. What again happens again? The family of these prime ministers are given all the projects, all the tenders involving billions of dollars. The relatives their friends, their family, their in-laws, their sons, their daughters. Aren't you ashamed? Aren't you embarrassed to live the life of an aristocrat? To live such extravagantly, to live so lavishly, whereas your fellow citizens are begging on the streets, sleeping in the streets of Chowkit, begging for the remnants, leftover food. Isn't that a shame? Are you proud of that? When you can live for generation and generation and generation without working, yet live a very exclusive lifestyle. Do you want that to happen to other fellow Malaysians? Sad indeed, pathetic, but fact of life in Malaysia under the previous governments. I believe there's about a few governments, not all, ladies and gentlemen, a few governments. Why? Why is this happening? Can't it be erased to the barest minimum? Can't it be reduced? But I will have to say that absolute poverty can never be eradicated again, because it's an endeavor set up in the new economic policy which hasn't reached its target yet. When I was studying in Austria for a period of 2 years for my master's in anti-corruption studies, absolute power happened there as well. On my first day on arrival in Austria, Vienna, I went to the shop known as Villa. Villa in translation means it's a cheap shop, whereby it's like 99 here or DIY. Okay, kedai 2 ringgit. Okay, I see beggars begging in the snow. In the snow, ladies and gentlemen, freezing. And I'm shivering under my pants. I had to wear layers and layers of hot clothing, winter clothing, because it's damn bloody cold, it's snowing. Yet they are beggars on their fours, on their knees, begging for money, begging for food. It happens in all societies, ladies and gentlemen. Whether it's a Western society or in Malaysia, it happens. But Malaysia, with a population of 32 million, I think it shouldn't really happen here. And absolute poverty, I really sympathize. I support the present government in India quest to lower the rate of absolute poverty. Okay, but with cronyism now, a picture of the past. Please, ladies and gentlemen, support the government. The political will is already there. PMX has always walked the walk, talked the talk. In other words, he has walked the talk. He has promised many things, which is beginning to bear fruit. And surprisingly, the opposition has got nothing to say about the initiatives taken by PMX and his cabinet, including his able assistant, the deputy president of PKR. They are all doing a good job. They might be slow, but I'm sure they will succeed in the near future, with the support, of course, of Malaysians. Don't go on condemning him for no reason. Don't go on ridiculing the Malaysian leaders who got the mandate of the Malaysian public. 82 seats, plus now BN is with them, GPS is with them, GRS is with them, Warisan is with them. So, what's the problem? I don't see inflation being skyrocketing anymore. Price of cooking oil has dropped. Price of fuel is still stable. That is around 95. And foreign direct investments are pouring in by the billions, ladies and gentlemen. Employment opportunities for your children. Better standard of living for your great-grandchildren and your grandchildren. Don't you want that? I believe Malaysia is on the right track, and with your support, of course. I wish PMX all the best, and I hope Malaysian society uphold the states of Selangor, Penang, as well as Negeri Sembilan under the able stewardship of PMX. And I sincerely hope that there will be an upheaval in the other states of Terengganu, Kelantan and Kedah. I don't want to see states such as Selangor, where I am residing at, become another mini Kelantan. I don't want them to be, the Selangor people, citizens, to be like those living in Kedah. Neither do I want to live in a state like Terengganu, whereby too much religious bigots are there who manipulate, although they can't show any results. Sad to say. Why are there no foreign direct investments in these three states? Why? Ask yourself. Don't you want your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren to live in your country? Don't have to find a living in Singapore, for instance. Isn't that the damn bloody crying shame? As for me, I don't want my children, to go to a foreign nation to make a living. But if there's no choice, what can they do? Okay? And the last topic of discussion will be nepotism. What is nepotism? Friends and family again. Okay? You favor your friends, you favor your family. Everything goes to your circle of friends who are given all kinds of incentives. No sanctions, ladies and gentlemen, even though if they commit various offences, even though if they don't follow rules and regulations, they are let off the hook. They are not punished, they are not investigated, they are not prosecuted under the previous governments. But I'm happy to say with great pride that PMX has nothing to do with nepotism. He is in fact against nepotism. He's against all the scoundrels who have stripped Malaysia dry out of its coffers, made Malaysia poor. Yet the circle of nepotism people, nepotists, they are becoming richer by the day. And as such, opposition leaders, opposition politicians, opposition who support the corrupt ministers, ex-prime ministers are always on the witch hunt against PMX, and I believe they will have a humiliating defeat. They will suffer if the Malaysian public, if the Malaysian citizenry, if the Malaysian society backs PMX and his cabinet. Okay. With that, I wish PMX all the best in his campaigning. I wish his cabinet all the very best in their fight against cronyism, corruption, and nepotism. Lastly, before I forget, I like to sing the song again of "Don't do the crime if you can do the time." Yeah, don't do it. Okay? Again, selamat malam, good night, and have a great day ahead. Thank you very much.